what makes the perfect pair? And I am talking about more of a legitimate pair, not just like a pairing in the romantic sense, but like the pair of characters in the story. And now, again, I may not always be the best about this due to some of my social life status currently, but the important thing is that as humans, we are made for relationships. And it's why so many stories revolve around them and can even inform us of when we might be having this idealized version of something or when there is something that's actually going on here that we should be aware of, or how are we going about relationships. So it's just something to really think about, even though stories aren't always accurate to real life. But anyway, one of the things I want to think about is how, again, most relationships are kind of based in love in a sense. I remember Blake Snyder's book Save the Tap, where he basically kind of combines genres into his own to kind of show how they are. And he refers to like a certain one known as buddy love because then when it comes down to it, most kind of buddy cop movies and romance movies are basically love stories between two characters or whatever. It's about the relationship between two characters. So it kind of highlights duos in a sense. And it is kind of interesting when we think about duos because the thing with a duo is that it's basically focusing on the back and forth between two characters. Whereas when you kind of up it to even a trio, there's now two characters that one character is interacting with. And so the focus can get a little bit skewed, especially if you aren't giving equal treatment to each of the members of the cast. So like the third one can basically go off sometimes and be dropped because they may not have as much focus as the other two are getting. And then you can even expand the task even more to like the five-man band or even more complex webs where some characters actually don't even have a relationship, even though they might be considered part of the main task, but they're never actually interacting with each other on screen. So it's just something to really think about. Because the thing with a good dynamic in a relationship is all the characters kind of treated equal, or do they treat each other equally? Do they play off each other? Like again, this is kind of like the witty banter that people come to expect these days. Or do they balance out each other in some way? Are they complementary to each other? Again, I don't think it's healthy to look for a person to complete you, but I do think it can be healthy to see, okay, this person complements me in this way. Like we have stills that progress our goal or whatever. It's like, okay, you have some artistic ability, I have money knowledge, stuff like that. Things that enhance the relationship and can help us achieve our goals, even if it may not seem, or we may seem, and then it's kind of like, is it opposites or is it just complementary? So it's something to really think about, and we can probably dive in all day in kind of a rambling thing, but I kind of want to talk about three kind of pairings that really stand out to me that are common in stories. And the first is romance, which unfortunately can often almost neglect the duo in a way because it falls into, oh, well, one, but it falls into becoming a goal or a prize. It's purely one sided on the pursuit of affection, in a sense. We're only dating one person's perspective. It's all about the perspective of the main character. And again, if the story is written that way, it can be still a good story. But when you add in the other side's perspective, it kind of creates a whole different dynamic in things. And again, whereas one time it's all about a die chasing after a doll, or a doll trying to attract the attentions of a die, however you want to do it. It's all about their perspective, their thoughts, their actions. But when you add the other person into it, it creates a whole different dynamic because now instead of it just being a goal to reach the endpoint of is it dating a date, dating married, dating notice, whatever it is, instead it goes so much more because then you can put those characters, now that they have the dynamic, into other situations, even further down the line. How are they going to live together? How are they going to have relationships, kids, all those kinds of things that come from actually having a dynamic that is beyond just achieving the end goal. So it's just sort of an interesting thing to really think about. And then you can have the classic kind of partners in crime or fighting crime, whatever. and how oftentimes you can actually have one of those characters become a sidekick to the other. Whereas you're basically seeing one character as the main character. They're getting all the goods, they're getting all the focus, they're the one who are getting the backstory, all those kinds of things, whereas the other one is just along there for the ride. But yet when you kind of elevate that character, even if they might be a sidekick in title almost, they still have that interplay. They can still kind of have that back and forth in. If they're both being developed, that's a good thing because it allows their relationship to go to different places than if it was just focused on one character and their struggles and their journey. And then that's the thing is, are you focused just on one character? Again, if that's the story you're telling, that's okay. But having the other side come in can just elevate the story in a way or create a different dynamic that really stands out to people and makes them remember it. And what would remember some of the greatest stories in a sense? We can remember time when the protagonist and antagonist relationship is really good. And that doesn't mean healthy, but when there's actually substance to it. It's not just, oh, I must defeat this person. And now part of that can be a rivalry, but it can also be the hero or villain. And then it's like, what are they trying to do? Are they just trying to win over each other? Are they pushing each other to be better? And then that's like the healthy rivalry is where you see someone doing something and it pushes you to do better in a sense, at least partially. Sometimes it can get very healthy when you go too far on that thing, or you start to cheat in order to win. But it's like those things where it's like rival can push us to be better. But again, the hero may be trying to redeem the villain, or the villain is trying to corrupt the hero. And one of the other things to think about with the hero and villain relationship is a reflection. Again, when we're opposing someone, what do we see in them that we are kind of judging in ourselves almost? That's kind of one of the things is to see is that the villain can almost be the possibility of what the hero will become if they fall, whereas the villain might see the hero as what they could have been if they never fell, or whatever, if they never had their revelation that they had to go evil or whatever. But then it's like what they could be, and that can kind of reflect it narratively. But then it's also important to think about what the characters see in the other. Do they see the chance of redemption, or do they see the chance for someone to rule alongside them? All those kinds of things can really come into play when you actually focus on what the character's relationship is, rather than just what one side's focus is. But anyway, these are kind of my thoughts on the matter, so why not feel free to share yours in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, you can like and share it so that others may enjoy it as well. And if you want to see more of our videos like this, you can subscribe to our channel. Anyway, I'm Jonah, and you've been watching Lions Mane Media, where we celebrate stories and the lessons of them. Thank you for listening to my musings. Talk to you later, and have a great rest of your day.